We got around 14,000 people signing up to our Discord. Us commiserating about the same problem and just being the first to move at the opportunity meant that we were able to go viral on Twitter within like the first week of us being on Twitter. We got 15 million organic views. The lore Discord has kind of like become like its own little community, and so that it's going to be part of lore forever. We created this mini community of people almost like advocating for their fandoms. And again, it just reminds me so much of like 2012, 2013 Tumblr era, which is like the energy that lore is trying to bring back.
Since you did build up that trust and you weren't selling them anything initially, like they will probably stay for a lot longer than just bouncing right away.
We're building it right now. It should exist. It doesn't exist. Like, do you want to build it with us? And so I think like focusing on
For those that don't know Zehra, basically we met a little bit over a year ago now, I think. This was back when you were in the VC world. I was working on my own consumer apps, and that's basically how we got connected. But what I remember from our chats is just this like incredibly unique mindset you had around really understanding Gen Z culture and really like what products were going to be successful in this space. And because of that, you know, it basically just led me to the current venture, which we can talk about as well. But now you're back into the founder world. So there's a 26-year-old founder of an app called Lore. I will let you describe it in your own words, but some crazy things that you did with this product. Before even launching, you guys built up a waitlist of over 100K individuals. Absolutely insane. You were also in the VC space before this and also featured in Forbes 30 Under 30. Crazy accomplishments. We're going to go over all of that in a little bit, but before we get started, we like to play a little game with all of our guests.
Yes. Okay, so do you use TikTok or Instagram more?
TikTok.
Okay, amazing. Pull out TikTok, get on your For You page. I'll have you screen record it and then pass your phone over to me.
Oh God. Okay, it's screen recording. Oh, I don't, the first one already. I'm like, oh God, what the hell is that?
So basically the whole point of this game is like, we want to see if the For You page is really a good like resemblance of who you are as an individual. So we're really going to see like how accurate it is and if you agree with it or not.
Totally.
Do you have any guesses of what's going to be on here?
There definitely have to be some edits. I'm going to guess Star Wars because I feel like 2 days ago I went down a Star Wars Darth Vader rabbit hole. And then the Where Have You Been Rihanna remix edits have been crazy. And so I know there has to be at least a couple edits in it. And then maybe like other weird content. But I feel confident there are edits.
Okay, well, let's see what happens. Okay, Halloween costume, guess the Halloween costume. That's very topical for today's literally Halloween. October, like beauty content I'm seeing. I'm seeing road. I'm seeing a lot of like, you know, those
I
big
have my
chunky.
little road.
There we go. What it feels like to tell my friends about a bad decision I made 4 weeks ago since I was too ashamed to tell them earlier. So real. Some memes. Yep, Star Wars.
Yep, I knew it.
The Lion wants somebody to cuddle with and watch Star Wars in chronological order. Okay, yeah, so I mean, that's very topical, like fandoms of it all. What like fan groups are you most part of?
I would say right now, very actively, I'm still a Marvel loyalist, even though the movies have kind of lost the plot a little bit. I have faith that Disney, Marvel, they're going to find their way back to it. Star Wars for sure. Lord of the Rings is like my fandom that I feel like persists throughout time, even though there's no like necessarily new content coming out. I don't identify with like the Amazon BS show, The Rings of Power.
I don't identify.
I'm not paying attention to that. But I would say those are probably my three core ones. And then from more of like the high fantasy world, I think my other ones that I stay like extremely loyal to are like Ariana Grande, One Direction, and then like all the members in their careers thus far. And that's obviously the one that I also grew up with.
Okay, nice. I love it. Okay, let's see. More Halloween content. Aladdin.
Oh yeah, well that's, my phone case has Princess Jasmine like all over it.
Gosh,
so that doesn't surprise me.
So sweet. I love it. Okay, cool. I feel like that made a lot of sense. Like, you know, very, here you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Fandom, edits, October beauty stuff. I love it.
Yeah, that feels very me. Very accurate.
On brand.
On brand.
Do you think you affect the algorithm, or do you ever feel like the algorithm kind of affects you and like what your interests are on a day to day?
Well, I love this question because it's also part of the reason we started Lore, because I don't like that TikTok has such a short memory. It almost just feels like, okay, I just watched Evan, CMO in the background.
Shout out, Evan.
We just watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World for the first time. And so I obviously went on TikTok after the movie just to like read up what people have said about it. It's an older movie, but I knew there was going to be some lore there. And for like one day after that, I got a ton of Scott Pilgrim content, like edits, theories, like the movie, what do people think about it like after it came out 15 years ago. And then now, if you look at my For You page, it's almost as if though I just never watched it. And I would still happily like to get Scott Pilgrim content because I did love that movie. But I hate that TikTok has just like such a tiny memory. So I do feel like the algorithm affects me and that it forces me to forget almost like the things that I've been a fan of for a really long time. And it like forces me to like focus on new things constantly. And so part of the reason I wanted to found Lore is because I just would get frustrated that almost maintaining my fandoms became like difficult, because if TikTok is what we're used to and we're doom scrolling, I wasn't getting like updated or thinking about like Marvel unless I was constantly interacting with Marvel content and searching for it. So I don't know. I don't like that the algorithm, I think, affects me more than I affect my algorithm. But I think it's just like there's an opportunity to build something new where you could get the more current content, but then also, I don't know, feel like you still are part of these fandoms that you've always loved for like years without it needing to feel like a constant like refresh situation.
That makes a lot of sense. Almost like it makes you feel almost too one-dimensional, right? It's like, okay, in these like 3 days, or like, I don't know, if I'm like going through a breakup or I'm like training for an event, all my videos will be about that one thing. But then it's like, I'm actually like a holistic person here. So I want all those things. Yeah, maybe this is a good time. Like, tell us a little bit about Lore. What inspired it? And then like, what is it in your own words?
Yeah. So Lore is the internet's home for obsession. Our first core product is essentially creating a dynamic consumption, like research platform for fans. You know that feeling whenever you watch a new movie, TV show, play a video game, read a new book, you just immediately want to like go online and read everything about it, from the Wikipedia page to maybe like the YouTube videos of the cast, if it's a movie, any theories on Reddit. That experience, I've done that since age 9 to age 26. Like, it's been 17 years. I did it with my first Marvel movie, Iron Man, when I was 9 years old. 37th Marvel movie, Fantastic Four, 26 years old. I've never changed my system. And I think that alone is crazy, that so much technology has come out. We're becoming more efficient at work. We're being forced to like integrate new technology into our life every day. But the things that bring us joy, like consuming other people's opinions after watching an art form, that just like never innovated. And I kind of felt like if this is something I've done for 17 years and no one has created a solution for it, let alone a place where I can feel like the thousands of hours I spend rabbit holing actually has meaning, why hasn't anyone built it? I know people want it. Every type of fandom, whether it's sports, whether it's the Roman Empire, whether it's true crime, whether it's Marvel, whether it's Sabrina Carpenter, it's the same type of behavior we all have and share. And so Lore is essentially building a platform where you can do all of that rabbit holing in one place. Lore learns about what you're obsessed with, but doesn't treat it as like a 24-hour cycle thing. It becomes kind of like a permanent thing. And Lore just essentially becomes like a living encyclopedia of everything that you've ever loved.
I love that. So what is the user interaction? Is it community-based? Is it like information-based? What does that look like for the user?
The core focus right now is information-based. And so like the example I just gave of like opening a million tabs, like feeling like you're just consuming all of this content, it just feels kind of stagnant and like there's no one place to do it. The core part of Lore is just building a better experience for consuming all of that information. But we also have like UGC components and social components that we're going to launch with like the final version of the product that includes like uploading your own lore theories. We also want to like make it less frightening to contribute to the conversation. Like, I've been in the Marvel subreddit for 15 years and I've literally probably spent thousands of hours reading about Marvel. I have never once in my life posted any theory about Marvel beyond like my fan fiction, which like it's a whole other conversation we can have. But I have opinions. Like I can think critically, but there's never been a place for me to just write like one line, like I think Iron Man has always been Victor Von Doom related to the movie coming out next year. And so with the UGC components, we're creating a space for the people who want to write those really long essays. But if you just want to like vote on a poll on who you think is going to die in Stranger Things season 5 and feel like you're part of a community, we're making it that simple as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's like really anybody can join in this community. It's like, that must be so fun to launch this product with fandom people because it's like they're probably so pumped, they're so quick to adapt, and now you've got all of these fandom people to be fans of lore as well. What has that been like for you? And I mean, I'm sure that's had a huge part in growing the waitlist a bit too.
Yeah. Well, I think initially, like when we were first building the waitlist, we were really focused on just like proving that people wanted something like lore. And so as soon as I founded the company, the immediate priority was like, okay, this concept that I just described to all of us, I think we all like recognize that it's frustrating, but also like replacing someone's habit of going to Google and like something I've done for 17 years, like it's hard. And so we first focused on making TikTok videos that were really just focused on like the problem. Like, don't you think it's crazy that there's not one single place for this? Like, and that I think problem is more universal versus trying to focus on like the narrative of like, do you want a place where you can just go yap? Because right now I think you can yap in Reddit, you can yap in Discord. And so our initial kind of like growing the waitlist really started with like, we're all fans and we're building for fans. We understand the frustrations you have because we're like you too. And so I think that narrative has always been like consistent in the way that we talk about lore. In the beginning, when we were building those TikTok videos, like our website was literally just a landing page with like username, email. Didn't have anything else on it, like no information, no about us. And so that I think alone, like the fact that people are so frustrated with the current fandom experience that they were willing to sign up to something that had like no information, I think is one thing that maybe started the like seeds of the like obsession and user love that we've had thus far. I think as it grew and we started to put more color around lore, like people like Evan and Sid, our founding engineer, joined the team, we started actually creating more content that had more like specificity. We had like a mission statement and about us. And I think it became really clear what it was that we were doing. And so the user like fan love now, I think is kind of a two-way street where we are fans ourselves. So we know kind of what like gets people excited about something, but then also like we really just see ourselves in all of our users. It's very much like a community-based effort where they're giving us feedback on the product constantly. And I think it creates a lot of trust in what we're building and them trusting that we actually have their best interest in mind. And so my favorite thing is like it's like absurd and crazy. And I don't know how to explain how this happened, but we do have like Twitter update accounts dedicated to lore.
No way.
So there's like one account called Lore Crave, like Pop Crave. And then we have a lore updates account. And these are just run by our users because they're so like excited by the community. And it's not just like us as the people building lore, they're making friends with each other. And so I always say it reminds me of like 2013 Tumblr. And I haven't seen this type of behavior on the internet in like well over a decade. So I think we're also just bringing back a lot of what people like loved back then, but then also like our newer, younger users never grew up with that part of the internet. So it's almost like they're experiencing like the euphoria we all did on Tumblr in 2012, but now.
Wait, that's so amazing. You've literally built fans for lore.
Completely unintentionally, but unintentionally for sure.
That's incredible. That's so incredible. Yeah, I mean, I think there's just something to say. Everybody craves community, and if you give people that, like nobody's gonna complain. Like that's so exciting. Yeah, I'd love to dive a little bit more into really painting that narrative and how you go about really telling people like we are building this because we are you. Everybody has the same access to, you know, like making a TikTok video or copywriting or whatever it is. But how do you really get on the ground and like tell that story? What was that like for you?
I think like even just now when I was talking about why we're building lore, I keep going back to like the 17 years, like 9-year-old me versus 26-year-old me. And I think when you have problems that people experience themselves and you focus on the problem first before the solution, that creates a type of camaraderie that I think almost like bonds people together. I think the same way people commiserate in an office when something like weird is going on. Like I think there's just like, it's almost like the community-based interactions that you have with someone when you're just like mutually frustrated over something. And it kind of creates like a level of trust and a bond that just like wouldn't exist otherwise. And so I think like when we talk about ourselves as our users, we're not just saying I'm a fan and you're a fan and therefore we have something in common. It's more like we both understand this situation kind of sucks and there's something that should exist that we're building it right now. It should exist. It doesn't exist. Like, do you want to build it with us? And so I think like focusing on the problem first was really important for us that way, because I think it did create a level of like, oh, they're not just saying they're a fan. They've really experienced it. Like I've been in Wattpad, I've been in Tumblr. I'm someone who actually lives in this world and still does and still experiences the frustrations even as we build lore. And so I think focusing on that created a level of trust. And I think sometimes the mistake I see like other companies make is focusing on the solution. You're just like constantly shoving the solution down everyone's throat. And yes, the solution is amazing, but like leading with the solution, especially when you don't really have like anything to your name yet, like people don't recognize your brand, people don't recognize who you are, it kind of becomes hard to actually build any understanding. And I think that implicit focus on the problem kind of just does create like a level of trust that you can't really build by just putting the solution out there.
Right. I think your marketing strategy is so unique. I mean, obviously just the fact that you're able to build a waitlist of over 100,000 users before ever launching is super insane. But like, I think exactly to your point, what a lot of founders don't understand is that there is such high value in just like building a community by just like gathering and rallying people around this common problem. And the reason that might actually have a better return than just like putting the solution out there is they're probably going to be higher retentive users once they actually enter the product because they're going to be more patient. You know what I'm saying? Even if there is bugs in the beginning, even if they are mistakes, since you did build up that trust and you weren't selling them anything initially, like they will probably stay for a lot longer than just bouncing right away.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the same assumption you guys are having?
Totally. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about like we have a Discord channel dedicated to our super users, and one of our super users, Kennedy, she was giving me a lot of feedback on our MVP. And I think like a couple weeks later, she told me like she's never been so like warmly received and like giving feedback to a product. And that just made me sad though, because I was like, you're spending all this time using the product. It's not like perfect yet. We want your feedback and we are happy to hear it. And so, yeah, I'm on the same page with you where I think it's the creating that level of touch and like, just like, I think like being kind about the situation when you are putting something into the world that isn't the most perfect that it could be on both like creator and user creates like a level of retention and just trust that is built off of mutual respect, which I think is a huge part of marketing in general. It's mutual respect with the audience.
Totally. Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially the like younger founder, maybe the bootstrap founder with like the consumer app or whatever, they skip a lot of the like user interview or just like user call stage of the business, maybe because they think, you know, their users don't really want to get on a call or it's not worth their time. But I have a similar story. One of my first jobs was at a women's health app. It was like a period tracker. And I'd get on calls with users all the time. And I'd hear that over and over again. It was like, I've never been listened to like this before. And people love just to share their thoughts. Most of the time, people only had positive things to say, which sometimes isn't that helpful even. But you know, when you have those conversations, it builds that trust in that community so much more. And then they go tell their friend, they tell their sister, they tell their mom, whoever. And you continue to build this like, I don't know, almost like real life community still over the internet, but it's so much more impactful. So yeah, talk to users, get in the community. You have to do the things that like don't scale to build your first 100, 10,000, 100,000 like true fans.
Yeah, totally.
Can we talk a little bit about the waitlist strategy and just like the specific strategy around like, why did you guys decide to go that route? What are you guys expecting? What is like the return going to look like? And then just like, how did you amount to such a high volume of people being a fan of this before ever launching?
Yeah, I think, so I would boil it down to a couple things. I think the first was, again, like our entire focus was, what's the problem? Leading with that. I think the second layer after that was recognizing we could go after so many different fandoms. Like there are so many different fandoms that exist. Like how are we going to start testing what's going to work with which fandoms, like which fandom is going to be the one that resonates the most with the content. And so we kind of alternated across doing like Marvel content, Star Wars content, anime content. Like sometimes I wouldn't even understand the references, but we have fans like who work behind the scenes at Lore. And so they would tell us like, trust me, like it's an if you know, you know thing.
Yeah.
And then we would also like try experiments with like Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift, and then also like more topical things. So we did actually run a ton of different like kind of organic videos around the White Lotus, like Severance when it was like
cool.
airing. And so we tried to do a combination of the more like permanent fandoms that always have stuff going on or like fans are pretty actively involved. And then the more like topical episodes were releasing, people were talking about it. Like we did stuff for The Summer I Turned Pretty as well. And so I would say our strategy in the beginning was truly because we are still like pre-formal launch. Our entire MO has been like, prove that people want this and then just see what resonates. And so we had our own convictions and like, okay, I think this type of video will go viral because there was a viral tweet about Tom Holland on the set of Spider-Man Brand New Day, and we knew Marvel fans are going to be talking about Spider-Man stuff. So then we would pivot like all the Marvel content to focus on Spider-Man. And so we're lucky in a way where it's like fandom inherently is so viral, and I think the content always gets served to the fans. So if we were creating content that was focused on like Spider-Man and then focused on the problem of fandom, it almost just felt like a video that you would like come across your For You page anyway versus like an ad or something. Like we're not selling anything specifically. And so we just like tested a ton of different videos. Like that's just the honest reality. Like some of the videos would get 10 million views, some would get like a couple thousand views, and it was just about what resonated. And I think the best performing videos were always the ones where we asked like the fans to talk to one another in the comment section. So sometimes the comment section would be entirely about like Spider-Man and obviously nothing about Lore, but when you click on the guy's profile, it takes you to like the Lore website and everything, and you can see like we tag the Lore accounts. So I think it was very much like testing. We're still testing a ton of different things now. Like we're talking a lot about TikTok, but we did a whole like Twitter strategy within the first like, was it the first week of us on Twitter or the first day that we got 15 million organic views?
First day, first 24 hours. First 4 days was 4 million.
4 million.
Damn.
We wrapped that campaign with that.
Yes. So Evan, CMO, amazing individual behind the camera. We did this campaign, or like, I wouldn't even call it a campaign. We decided to like open Lore's Twitter account, and we were like, I wonder how we're gonna get a following on this account. And it happened to be the same time that Ariana Grande tickets were going live, and she said she's not gonna make any more albums or like less frequently. And so I think there was just a lot of demand for this concert. And some of the most famous like niche micro celebrity accounts that focus on like pop culture stuff, they were just constantly tweeting that they didn't get tickets. They weren't like, Ticketmaster sucks. Like this experience isn't built for fans by fans. And so then it's kind of like enter Lore. Like we are a platform by fans for fans. We understand the frustration. I didn't even get Ariana Grande tickets, and I've been a fan since like Put Your Hearts Up, which is like a song from 2010 or something when she was on Victorious. And so I think again, it was like a commiseration thing. We're all frustrated. There's the same common enemy. And Evan came up with this really great thing where there was a trend on Twitter where someone would post a picture of them trying to get something to fit in their Twitter header, and then they would say, oh, I can't get it to fit. And then they would quote the tweet later and say, NVM, I got it. And the whole joke was you went to their profile and the header would be like something shady related to the tweet. So I asked Evan, I was like, Evan, I don't understand this trend. Like, what does this mean? Like, I don't get it at all. And Evan was like, just wait. And so he posted a picture of trying to put the Ticketmaster logo in Lore's header on Twitter. And he was like, I can't get it to fit. And then quote tweeted it and said, NVM, I got it. And then when you went on Lore's profile, the header was a trash can. And so we were just basically calling Ticketmaster trash. And so that went viral, and it got, I think like 60,000 likes or something along those lines. So I think it's kind of like also a call and response thing where people sometimes say like, I don't understand how you guys are so good at marketing. And I'm like, Evan made the Cynthia Erivo meme. Like, you know this meme?
Yeah.
That was Evan.
No way.
His thumb is like, he's the one interviewing her in the clip, and that was him. And so then he clipped it and made it a GIF. So it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, it's not just, sometimes there's really no strategy to it. It's like I'm a chronically online fan. I saw this one account called Buffy's, and she couldn't get any Ariana Grande tickets. So we were like, why don't we just reach out to her and see like what we can do to help her situation? And now it's kind of become one of those things where it's like, us commiserating about the same problem and just being the first to move at the opportunity meant that we were able to go viral on Twitter within like the first week of us being on Twitter. We got 15 million organic views. And that's, I think, like part of it is just like there is a formula to what I said about TikTok and posting and just testing new content. But then sometimes it's just like random things will lead to virality and you just have to be like chronically online, unfortunately, I think.
You just have to be there. You just be in the community, listening, hearing, reacting, playing. It's literally you just have to play. I love that. Okay, so Twitter's huge, but also TikTok. Were you doing the whole UGC thing? Or were you doing influencer? What was the strategy there?
It was entirely like UGC. And so that was everything that we were doing on TikTok. And I think like to your question about influencers, like I think what's hard about what the space that we focus on is that there's no like there are fan accounts that do a lot of like content and they get invited to like the red carpets and they'll now like interview the cast and stuff. But I think there's no real like influencers in the fandom space. I think there's more like voices who get like, they go viral and they're, honestly, I would kind of describe them as like the heads of the fandoms and you just kind of, if you know, and you're in the fandom and you like know who they are. Like I'm thinking of like Soups is this guy who does like a ton of Marvel DC content. But I think the reason we didn't go that route is because again, we're so focused on like our core users problem. And even though we know the fan influencer accounts probably have the same frustrations that we do when it comes to the rabbit holing experience, our priority was like, we are building like by fans for fans. And so the UGC route just felt like it made way more sense, especially working with creators who had like their own frustrations with the fandoms that they were in. And sometimes they would tell us like, I know this isn't like a fandom that you guys are part of, but I can tell you right now that there's a lot of frustration because this episode came out and there's lore and whatever. And we would honestly like give them that trust to create the content that we knew would resonate because they're a fan themselves as well.
That makes a lot of sense. How big was the like creator team? Like kind of walk us through that. How big was the creator team? How much output? Obviously you got a ton of return on it. What was that like?
So I don't recall like how many we had operating at the same time because it was frankly just like a ton of testing and constantly iterating. But I think like the standard thing that we did was we had one like account start from scratch and then there would be probably like 30 videos posted on a monthly basis, so like one per day roughly. And we alternated between like, again, like one account would be focused more on like Marvel stuff and then another, we even tested like F1 stuff, like sports things.
Oh, nice.
We also tested like NBA stuff. We tested like The Summer I Turned Pretty, White Lotus. So it was kind of like having those accounts and then just seeing like what resonated. And I think the most that we had at any point of time was like maybe like 7 to 8. But the consistent ones that kind of stayed with us like over the 6-month period as we just continued iterating happened to be like the fan accounts that were in more of like the high fantasy world. And I would kind of compare that whenever people ask me like what fandoms do you think are going to be like the first users on lore? I always say it's like the high fantasy ones from the performance we got on the UGC videos, but also like Marvel, Star Wars, like anime. Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande have been in the ecosystem for long enough to where like they have enough characters in their story that rival like a Marvel subplot. And so when people ask me like, don't those fan bases seem different? I think first of all, whichever fandom gets you into lore is not like exclusive. Like everyone's fans of multiple things and there's a lot of overlap between Marvel specifically and then a ton of other like lore fandoms. But I think like any fandom right now that has like high fantasy level of characters and narratives in it, I think those are the ones that just perform the best. So like obviously Taylor Swift has literally been around for like 2 decades, the stuff with her masters and like Scott Borchetta and Scooter Braun and like Maddie Healy and like every narrative, every like story that's come out of her albums, like there's just so many characters. And I think that is basically similar to like a Star Wars level narrative in terms of just like how many different things are moving. So those are like the fandoms and the content that I think resonated the most.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then like, how did you actually get people from, watching the TikTok video, maybe engaging in the comments to the actual waitlist? Because it sounds like the main strategy was, let's just build a community around the problem. Don't really present the solution at all. Just get them engaging with each other. But then like the next step is like, okay, that does eventually have to lead to customers, to users. How did you take that next step?
So my answer is going to be really annoying because we have gotten now 215 million views, pretty much. I think only 8% of those paid from the last 6 months of us like marketing lore. And a lot of the organic videos that we made, there would be like a CTA in the caption, like at lore, like all the information you want in one place. And then eventually people would go to the account and we would have like the waitlist link there. But we were never really making content that was like sign up for lore because I think, again, we were so focused on the problem. And so the reason I say my answer is annoying is because like we also, I don't know how no one has built something like this before because the opportunity is so crazy. And I think that people are so frustrated by the current experience that they're willing to do the hard work of like clicking on someone's profile, clicking the link, being like, what is this page? But they just made a really great video that shows that they're in the know, like about fandom frustrations. I should probably sign up to this. So I think we're kind of fortunate in that way where like the problem has really no one has marketed a solution because if they had, I would have seen the video. Like, you know what I mean? And so I think we're lucky in that way because we're not marketing like a dating app where it's like sign up here like to join our dating app or like it's less like I guess direct. We don't have to be as direct. And so it's an annoying answer in that way because we were never doing the whole like sign up here. And if we did, I don't think those ever really performed. Gotcha. It was always the more like subtle fandom, if you know style content that I think just got people out of natural curiosity and intrigue to sign up to lore.
I love that.
Gotcha. And then were there any other tools that you guys were using to build the community, like Discord, anything else, or was it really just like the waitlist, TikTok?
So when Evan, CMO, joined lore, he immediately was like, because you're right there and you're amazing. Okay, so when Evan joined, I think we were like, okay, we should probably have a place to put some of the users and some of the engagement off the waitlist into like a living community. I'm on the older end of Gen Z, so I've never been on Discord before. I think I had like an NFT phase like in 2020 where I had a Discord, but I had never really used it. And so we just added like a button to the end of the waitlist flow. So it literally like username, email, sign up to lore, and then the join Discord button. Nice. And from that, we got around 14,000 people signing up to just like our Discord. And the way that Evan set it up, because again, I don't really have any experience in Discord, was incredible because we created this mini community of people almost like advocating for their fandom. So we have like a fandom requests channel. And so you would have to formally request a fandom to have its own channel in there. Cool. Then we have a fandom voting channel. And then you would have to vote for that. Like enough people would have to vote for that channel to actually come into existence. So now it's like huge and it's like living and breathing. We have like fashion, fandom channels, history, then obviously like Five Nights at Freddy's, like The Hunger Games, Star Wars, Marvel, Taylor Swift, pop music, like everything. It's actually insanely comprehensive. But initially, it was kind of like the first people who joined were setting the tone and setting the culture for what lore looked like. And Evan was a really huge part of that. But even now we have like mods and like core super users who are giving us feedback in the Discord as well on like the early versions of our product. But they're also now like talking to one another, like conversing about how they use spirals, which is the name of our MVP. And then also texting each other, like who's up, like using lore right now and testing the product. So I think the Discord, I pretty much tell every founder now you should have something like a Discord to actually like build that community. So people, not even just for you to be involved directly, but for people to interact with each other as well. Because they've formed like friendships from our Discord now. And again, it just reminds me so much of like 2012, 2013 Tumblr era, which is like the energy that lore is trying to bring back.
I love that. And then the retention's higher too, because if they leave lore, if they leave the Discord community or whatever, then they lose their friends. Yeah, it's truly like that's how you build a cult-like following, which is what you got to do in consumer app day and age.
And then do you guys plan on using the Discord for also like the official launch when it actually gets live?
I think the Discord is going to be just like part of lore now. Like when The Life of a Showgirl came out, we had like a listening party and everyone was like live reacting in the Taylor Swift channel. I think Ariana Grande's album Positions came out 5 years ago today, or not today, 5 years ago, like a couple days ago. And of their own volition, like our users hosted a listening party inside the lore Discord as well. And so the lore Discord has kind of like become like its own little community. And so that it's going to be part of lore forever. I would love for us to start taking some of those like online experiences IRL and doing like actual like user watch parties together. But yeah, it's going to be like permanent forever. I'm so glad that we have that community.
Hell yeah.
So fun.
I think the other incredible thing about Discord is it does become almost a sandbox for us to get feedback from our users on like what fandoms they're part of, like new media and content that we should be paying attention to. And I think sometimes it's like a blessing and a curse to be building lore, because I want to spend all this time bringing a fandom product to life, but then I can't like watch every single thing that's releasing, or even like my own fandoms. And so my favorite kind of like description of this is, now we all know like K-pop Demon Hunters is like such a huge deal, like the most watched Netflix original ever of all time. And I remember going into our Discord and I saw that on the day K-pop Demon Hunters came out, we had a user request a K-pop Demon Hunters channel. And who would have known back then like what K-pop Demon Hunters would become? Because this was like, I think early June or May of this year when the movie came out. And then like it kind of feels like the users that we have in lore are early like trend setters in a way, where they're identifying the things that are going to kind of blow up. And so I remember seeing that and I was like, oh, there's like, it's crazy because we're not only just being given like feedback on our product, but like our users are also like guiding us towards like what is resonating now, what's going to be popular. And it kind of just feels like they can guide us in that direction too.
That's insane. That's going to be a huge arbitrage opportunity as well. Because essentially like if they're marketing your product as well, they're going to be the first ones to talk about that space, whether on TikTok, Twitter, whatever. And lore's going to be at the forefront of all of it.
Yep.
And so, no, just genius. Props to you guys. What's like the goal with lore and how it's going to affect, you know, the bigger picture of social media, social platforms? Like obviously TikTok, Twitter, you guys are building lore because they're obviously not solving this problem that you guys are trying to address. Do you guys hope that it has, you know, a shift on culture, new products being released? What's kind of the thought process there?
Yeah, I think lore represents the frustrations that a lot of Gen Z specifically has had with the internet. I always like to say like Gen Z, I think particularly people born like late 1990s and the early 2000s, we were like the first generation to actually have like our frontal lobes like fully cooked on the internet. Cooked in bad way or good way, who knows? But like me being a 10-year-old on Reddit or like Tumblr, like God knows what was happening. And like YouTube as well. Like it definitely influenced my development as a person. And so I think that frustration of like the direction consumer tech went in, like social media going from chronological, follow your friends, like keep in touch, to I love the creator economy, I love content, like I love what's happened, but we did just almost like lose the human to human interaction. It truly just became like media, which is great. It's like a new form of media and we love it. But TikTok to me feels like almost the final like frontier of that realm where yes, like you can talk to your friends in real life about things that went viral on TikTok, but for the most part, it is like an infinite scroll and you're not really, yes, you can look at the comments and like giggle at like a comment with 100,000 likes, but you're not really interacting with anyone. And the interface is not designed the way YouTube is, where you actually can like hear the video playing and like still like almost see the recommended stuff and see the comments. It feels a little more like siloed. And so I think like with lore, we're essentially hoping to create a new type of internet. I think we're at a huge turning point right now with consumer technology where we can either just be satisfied with like ChatGPT, which is a black and white text chat interface, and say, this is the future of the internet. And I abhor that. Like, I think that's so scary. I think it's frustrating that that's like the best and the most imaginative that we could come up with. I imagine lore kind of being like the internet's digital playground, but instead of you having to rabbit hole and spend hours reading about, I don't know, a painting that moved you or a new song you listened to that you loved, and then losing all of that, like there's no platform that keeps it all with you. Lore kind of becomes like the antidote to it. And then I think it also becomes the antithesis of current social media. If current social media is like highly manicured and you're putting on a persona that is edited or refined to give off a certain vibe, lore with our knowledge graph feature Lore aggregates like every question that you've ever asked into this like little graph that almost just shows you like, okay, I'm a huge Marvel fan because this part of the graph is like huge related to Marvel stuff. And it shows like every question, every fandom you're in. And to me, it's almost like that's who I am. It's unfiltered, it's unedited. This is the future of, I think, the internet, like us connecting with one another over the things that bring us joy. And so it's hard to imagine and it looks like a little hazy what the future of the entire internet is going to look like. But I think we at Lore feel really confident that we want to create a better experience for consumers that is built around like joy. And I like to say joy spiraling instead of like doom scrolling, because it is like a joyous thing to just read about the stuff that moves you and the art that you love. And so I think that's the direction and I guess the longer term vision for what we hope Lore gives to the internet and how we also hope to like heal it and take it back to like the early days.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, I'm fully confident you guys are going to change everything that goes on moving forward. So super excited for when this launches officially for the public. But where can people find you guys, keep up to date with everything Lore? Yeah. Shout out to the socials.
So you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Lore Obsessed. We are also loreobsessed.com. On TikTok, though, we are at Lore.
Okay. Yeah, you got that handle. That's a good handle to have.
Nice.
All right, sweet. Well, thanks again, Zehra.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you
So
guys
much
for
fun.
having me.
Of course.